All right, we're going to be doing my 2022 gubernatorial predictions now. Now, currently, the Democrats are having a bit of rebound nationally. Geez, I can't get that word out. They're having a rebound nationally, so they could really capitalize this in the governor's races and in the Senate races, which I did a video on yesterday, and you should totally check it out if you haven't already. And so far, I really do think the momentum is shifting in the Democrats' favor in a lot of these states, and I really do think they have a real good chance at holding a lot of territory or states that they didn't really have a chance at holding previously. So we're going to get right into this. So the first few states are going to be going on is Iowa and Ohio. At this point, I think they're just long shots for Democrats. They're pretty popular governors at this point, are each leading by over 10% in the polling. So I think these races are just going to be locks and just safe for Republicans. Pretty much as safe as just Vermont and New Hampshire. I don't think these are going to be that competitive. They're popular governors. Don't think they're going to be unseated. In Kansas, on the other hand, we have an incumbent Democratic governor there. So far, the polling shows it's a single-digit race, that it's going back and forth, but I really doubt it. I'm going to rate this as likely Republican. I think the Republicans are going to win this by around 7%, I would say, this Kansas governor mansion. I think they're going to flip it over to their side. Alaska, on the other hand, we're having an independent versus a Republican here, and it shows it could be a competitive race, but I highly doubt that. I'm going to be rating it as likely Republican. I think the Republicans will be able to hold that pretty convincingly. Texas and Florida, on the other hand, Texas had a spark of hope for Beto O'Rourke, but at this point it looks like it's basically over for his campaign. Poll after poll keeps showing him down to Greg Abbott, and Greg Abbott's probably going to win this seat by around 8% or even 9% in this gubernatorial race. State of Florida, also, we have Ron DeSantis. He's a pretty popular Republican governor. He's constantly leading the polls. Some polls show him down, though. I think those are just outliers. The overwhelming majority shows him up, and I think he's going to be able to win the state of Florida by a pretty significant margin, by about a likely, probably around 7 points, I would say. State of Illinois, we currently have J.B. Pritzker running here. He has decent approval ratings. He will struggle in rural Illinois. There is a sign of blowback from him there, but he did capitalize on most of his campaign accomplishments. He went down that list, and I do think the left is satisfied with him, so I do think they're going to be turning out enough to make the state a safe state for J.B. Pritzker. States are Rhode Island and Connecticut. Rhode Island has an interesting House race now that it's showing the Republican actually has a chance at flipping it. I don't think that's going to translate over the governor's race either. I still think the Democrats are winning this by a likely margin. Same with Connecticut as well. That's what the polls are currently showing there too. Now, let's go to the West right now. Colorado, I don't really think the Republicans have a real chance at flipping this area. I'm going to give it by a likely margin, 8 to 9% victory for the Democrats here. New Mexico, on the other hand, there's signs that this race is becoming competitive. The Republican is within striking distance, but I still think the Democrat has a lead, so I'm going to be putting it as lean Democratic. Now, the state of Oregon, it's pretty much a three-way race currently so far. There is an independent moderate running, just a Democrat and a Republican. So the Republicans have a real chance at winning this governorship. However, with Roe v. Wade being overturned, I think that's just going to be enough to keep the state from going to the Republicans. Now, Nevada and Arizona. Arizona, I think, is narrowly going to stay with the Republicans here by a tilt Republican margin, I'd say. Even though they have a pretty extreme candidate, I still think they're probably going to end up splitting the ticket with the Senate race in Arizona. Just with them voting for Mark Kelly and probably voting for the Republican. Only if they just want to separate and make sure it's pretty evenly divided there between both parties. I think that might be the case with the moderates voting. In Nevada, on the other hand, I think the incumbent Democratic governor is going to barely hold on by a tilt margin, and that probably is going to be attributed due to the Roe v. Wade decision being overturned by the Supreme Court. I really think it's going to give the necessary amount of momentum to keep the state in Democratic column. Now these next few states. Georgia, Brian Kemp's probably going to win this race by a likely margin. Probably around 4% to 5%, I would say. I'm going to probably put it as lean for now. I'd say it would be a 4% victory because that's what Herschel Walker's poll showed the Georgia Gov race. 4% lead for Brian Kemp, and I would say it's around 4% to 5%, I would say. I'm almost about to put it to likely, but I'm going to say it's going to be lean for now. Now, these last few states, Maine, I don't think the Republicans are going to be able to win this governor's race, but it will be a very, very close governor's race. Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro isn't as leading as much as I thought he would. I thought this would be a likely race by now, but I do think it's going to be decently competitive due to Joe Biden's terrible approval ratings in the Rust Belt. That it's going to be within the single digits of the lean area, probably 2 to 3% victory for Josh Shapiro here. In Minnesota, I expect the governor here, the incumbent Democratic governor, to fend off the challenge from the Republican candidate here, but this race is very, very close. But the Republican candidate is very, very extreme, which is why I think it's kind of out of reach for Republicans. But you never know. State of Michigan, I think it's going to be a 4% victory for Gretchen Whitmer. It's bordering on going to likely, but I do think Biden's terrible approval ratings will keep this race within the lean margin. Now the state of Wisconsin, it's a hard state to predict right now. So far, the incumbent Democratic governor is leading in nearly every poll so far, and the Trump-endorsed candidate's probably one of the weakest ones out of the ones he could have picked. He should have picked Kleefisch to endorse. So I think Tony Evers might actually hold on here for once in a while. I think he might actually survive. That's how I'll put this race right now. So far, the Republicans have flipped Kansas. And I'm not sure if they flipped any other states, have they? Let me check. Nope, the Democrats have pretty much held their ground here, while the Republicans have held their ground and end up flipping Kansas. But this is how I currently see the 2022 governor's race going between these parties. And let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.